So, well, you're aware from the title that Claire's written this article about 15 things that 15 reasons why endurance sport can help your mental health. So you were going to introduce it, so off you go.
Okay, well, I wanted to start by sharing my own story in terms of running and how it's helped me. So running is my main sport. I do a bit of cycling as well. And I started running really when I was at university. I started running with a friend to raise money. We did the Great North Run. And at that point I didn't really know much about training. I just went out and ran. But when I left university I stopped running and I was working a lot. I'd discovered smoking and drinking and was choosing those things really over my own health. So I was struggling a bit. I was feeling quite lonely. I'd moved to a new town. I didn't know anybody. Most of my colleagues were older, so they were more focused on families, so I didn't really have much social life. And it was actually a friend who suggested that I could run with a club. And at that time I was like, oh no, I can't run with a club, I'm not good enough. But I did start running, and one of the things that I soon discovered is that I couldn't run and smoke because it really hurt. And I was really enjoying this buzz of running, and it was giving me access to some social networks as well, because I did eventually join a running club, and so I could run with these newfound friends at my running club. And I felt that I was meeting a lot of my needs now through running that before I was meeting through maybe going out drinking and smoking more. So that's my story and how I first came into running. And I'm really pleased I did go into running, because the next benefit was it started to make me feel better as well. I started to feel better in my mood. So that's my story.
Okay. And I guess one thing we could do is talk through the 15 things that you've written about. And I noticed from our screen that the first one is it reduces stress levels, which I've certainly found in both cycling and running. Obviously, sometimes it elevates stress levels if you're in a race or an event where you want to do well, but on the whole, I certainly find it's good to have something to focus on. And I like structure and routine, and actually sport as opposed to just exercise creates a structure for me, because I'm focused on getting fitter and to perform effectively, as well as I can do. So.
Yeah, I agree, and I think certainly one of the things that I love about my running is that I can run on a lunchtime when I'm working, and for me that's really helped. And in fact often it's during lunchtime that I have my best idea about maybe how to, overcome a particularly difficult problem. And I'm sure it's just that I've relaxed a bit and got out in the fresh air.
And then your next point is.
So it's
follows on nicely.
Yeah, it's what we've been saying is that sport lifts your mood. So doing any kind of activity produces endorphins, and endorphins act a little bit like a natural opiate. So they give you a bit of a buzz, which I guess is the buzz that I was experiencing instead of smoking. So it does, physiologically, it lifts your mood.
And like you just said, getting out at lunchtime or getting out at some point in the day, maybe that helps lift your mood after a difficult morning. I know the job you used to work in and doing a bit off was quite stressful, and maybe getting away is.
Yeah.
And if you weren't involved in sport, if it was just like, I've got to do a bit of exercise, you might not have been as motivated to get out. Whereas, if you don't do that actual session, then you'll not be as fit and you won't, you'll not do as well in your sport. So it sort of keeps you going a bit, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a point that I covered later on in the blog about just having a goal and making a commitment to that goal. You've got to get out and train regularly. You're not going to achieve the goal that you want if you just go, once every blue moon. So having another thing that you've got to do is a great way and a great excuse for getting out of the office or getting off the settee or or whatever. Yeah.
So next one.
Yeah.
Time in nature.
Once you've
obviously.
Yeah.
Well, even if you're in the middle of a city, you can usually find some grassy parkland area to get out and enjoy your sport or do some training, or if you can combine it with your commute or weekends, or there's always somewhere to go. And actually, one of the things I've found, although I don't travel quite so much now, I used to travel quite a lot with work, and getting out, and I used to run. No, I'm more of a cyclist, but it doesn't matter. Getting out and doing some exercise forces you to explore the area and get some fresh air, whereas otherwise you might just sort of slump in front of the telly in your room, or go in the bar, and which I did as well. But I'd always done that bit of exercise and exploration as well. So increasing your self-esteem.
Yeah, I think if you have a goal, outside of work in particular, I think, but a personal goal, and you achieve that goal, that automatically increases your self-esteem. And I think the beauty of something like an endurance sport is, whether you're at elite level or, just beginning, you kind of set your own goals and you set them at an achievable level. So you are setting yourself up to succeed, unless you have this black and white, win or not win thinking. But in endurance sport, there tends to be a sort of a margin of acceptability. And once you achieve those things in a small level, every training session, you get a sense of achievement once you've completed that training session. And then you get to your race and you complete your race, and you get somewhere within that acceptance criteria, wherever that is, you feel great about yourself. You've done this great thing.
Yeah, actually quite an important point. You sort of alluded to the point, but setting achievable goals is actually really important, because if you don't, and goals that you've got control of. So you might be able to win a given race or event, but that your goal, it's better to have a goal that you can control. Like if you were doing a 5k, for instance, a 5 kilometre run, your goal might be to do that in less than 25 minutes or within a certain time. And if your goal was to win the 5k, you would obviously you might have to run a bit faster than that to win, but your goal would be derived from, say, I think if I can run 5k in 16 minutes, I'll probably win. So I'll train to run 5k in 16 minutes, and if I do that and somebody beats me, well, at least I've achieved my goal, and I can't control what anybody else does. So it's important to have goals that are achievable and within your control, and we talk about that in other articles. It might be worth having a read there, and we'll talk about it in future goals, I think. In future, videos.
Yeah. Well, I touch on it in my blog actually when we talk about problem-solving skills, and this, my belief is that taking part in endurance sport and doing a sporting event and committing to that, you are using problem-solving skills that transfer very well into life. And one of the major aspects of that is an achievable goal. There's no point wishing for the moon; it's not going to happen. But if you know where you're at, you know where you want to be, and it's a realistic step, then it's an achievable goal that you can achieve.
Health focus. You've already talked a bit about that, I think.
Yeah.
I noticed the next one you've got is quite an interesting one. It helps you abstain from addictive substances, and I don't know if you've got it later on, but we also talk quite a lot about it helps you refocus from unhelpful obsessive behaviours as well. But it might come later.
Yeah. I think the two are linked. So having a healthy focus in your life is important, and one of the things that we know, and certainly I know from my experience of working with people who've had very serious addictions, is that they're meeting a core need through an addiction, and if you can meet those core needs in a more healthy way, i.e. through sport, that's going to be far better for you. But equally, and that links into having that healthy focus. So, your focus stops being when can I have my next cigarette or when can I have my next drink, but it becomes, how I'm going to prepare for my next run, how I'm going to prepare for my next event. That's a much healthier view on life.
That's right. You mentioned joining the club, and I can certainly find that. Certainly, although I'm not in the club at the moment, a lot of friends, long-lasting friends from quite early, so I've kept in touch with friends for 30 or not quite 40 years yet, but certainly over 30 years that I met through when I started running, and although I don't see them very often, it's still just. I think I met one of my friends. This was probably over a year ago for a drink, and it was amazing how we picked up. And Steve said to me, he said, "Well, I've just shared things with you that I probably wouldn't share with any of my current friends." And we've not seen each other I think we haven't seen each other for maybe 10 years or more. But we just formed that bond through running together over the years, and it stayed, and these people will always be friends. So it's an amazing social network that develops through participating in sport and going through physically quite hard times, and also a certain level of healthy stress as well.
Yeah. And some of what you touch on there about, that element of disclosure and closeness, I think, running and cycling together with someone really does engender this situation in which you do feel disposed to disclose. There's something about being sat beside somebody focused on another task which relaxes the mind. There's been studies on it, and enables people to disclose more. So you do form very close relationships with people.
Yeah. Well, you've talked about work already, so work-life balance.
Yeah. For me, this is a big thing because I'm quite a perfectionist, certainly in my work, and I would stay at work all day to get something just perfect, just right. If I've got another goal outside work, I'm forced to not do that. If I take my other goal seriously, which I do in an endurance sport, then I've got to leave work because I've got to have time for my run. Or if I'm cycling, I want to cycle back in daylight because it's safer. So I'll leave work at a time when I can do that. And I think just the process of having, whether you love your job or hate it, having something outside of that which is important to you is healthy. It's a healthy part of life.
Yeah. Well, neither of us have children, but you've had it here. It's a good example for the children, and I think as long as you're not too much of a pushy parent, it's actually a nice way to introduce your children into socialising because of the other people or kids. And I know I've been to events, and one of my friends if I've not been competing, one of my friends has said, "Oh, here's Jimmy and Susan. I'm off to the start line in 1 minute." But yeah, I've looked after the kids for the event, and I guess it gets them used to dealing with different people and also meeting other children. And I know that not those particular children, but other friends' children are now actively involved in sport and enjoying the health and benefits that gives, and learning, developing habits that will form a nice basis for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, psychologically it is true that children will believe what they see you do, not what you tell them. So if you tell them to be healthy, that's probably not, you sit on the sofa and do nothing, they're not going to be healthy. But if you say leading a healthy life and having regular exercise is good for you, and you go out and do that, they're going to believe it.
Yeah.
For sure.
I guess that's the next one you've got is a healthy body. Well, that's certainly true, because if you don't have a healthy body, you won't perform to your expectations. So, focusing on being healthy is fundamental to being achieving the goals that you want.
And healthy body, healthy mind is true. It is true that people who do not enjoy good health in their body become depressed. And we are designed to move, and we live in an age where we move less and less. So having some structure in your life which is about movement is good for you.
And I guess that next one, it sort of follows on that you have to eat healthily to have a healthy body, and I guess from both ends of the spectrum, one is that you can eating healthily helps you lose weight, which might be one of your focuses for taking part in exercise. But my personal feeling is that if you focus on being better at the sport, then the weight loss isn't the focus. It's much more healthy to have improvement to achieve a healthy weight, and you obviously have to eat healthily and appropriately to reach your optimum weight and your optimum health. And it helps. I think most people who get involved in sport and try and get better, they learn a lot more about the diet and therefore are more conscious of eating in a healthy way.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot around over the last sort of 2 or 3 years around very well-known athletes who've disclosed problems with food and their relationship with food. But the bottom line is, and they will all say this, is they stopped performing because of their relationship with food. And I think once part of their sort of recovery, and a pattern that I've seen, certainly people I've known and from reading other people's stories, is this concept that food is fuel, and you need enough fuel to make your body work. And I think once you have that attitude, it's a far better attitude to food.
Yeah, certainly. Not just stopped performing, but became very ill. Certainly, people sort of examples of personally know people that have been very ill, and one of my friends had a broken hip as a consequence of not eating enough. We already talked about structure. I work from home, mostly using the internet, and often my only social contact is Fernand, our dog, and he provides a bit of structure as well. But if my sport is great because I like to go out in daylight if I can. I'm lucky enough to be able to do that, and so in winter it forms a really nice structure to my day. Get out for an hour with the dog, and then get out on the bike for maybe an hour in the afternoon, and then work a bit. Start work a bit earlier and I'll work a bit later. That's perfect for me, and I guess I'm not much of a night person, so I'm not tempted to overdo it by working late into the evening. I just like to watch mountain biking on YouTube or something.
I mean, what we know about people who are suffering from poor mental health, specifically depression, is that a lack of structure. It's a symptom, but it's also then it becomes this vicious cycle and a contributing factor, because it is difficult to get up, and it is difficult to motivate yourself to do things when you're feeling that low. But if you've already got a structure in place where you get up and train, it's much easier to continue that. Even if you're too ill to work, if you're still getting up and going out for a run, you're getting out, you're coming back, and you're usually having a shower, so you're taking care of yourself. And that promotes that healthy routine that you need to keep yourself mentally well.
That's right, yeah. And I guess that leads into your therapy through sport, which is your next one.
Yeah, so we touched on this a bit, but this concept of doing something with somebody else, being by their side, not necessarily being, one-on-one across the desk, is a really great way to engender this feeling of closeness and this ability to disclose without feeling too pressured. And I know that from my experience. I'm thinking of one particular person, and he had children who were over in the next county, and he couldn't get over to the child protection meeting, so I was taking him. And I learnt so much about that guy because it was an hour journey there and an hour journey back, and we were sat in a car focused on the process of travelling, and he was disclosing loads. And running and cycling, when you're cycling side by side, is similar to that. And obviously it creates great friendships, but it's also a space for people to talk. I'm thinking of Lee Cravey, because she did the psychology thing, which was a bit similar, wasn't it? A friend of ours did some work with young people, which was basically cycling with them, but again, it engenders this ability for them to feel safe, to focus on something else, but chat as well.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I suppose the work Lee did was, it also included mechanics work, and so therefore given these, having the space to get out and train, help their problem solving skills. It took away the I guess when you go out for a run or go out on your bike, you focus on that, and that gives you a mental break, and when you come back, your mind is sometimes it's full of all sorts of things that you've thought about while you've been out, but often it's you sit down and you have a cup of tea or something if you've got time, and that gives you that space, and actually you suddenly then find that you've solved the problems that might have spent hours working on earlier in the day.
So we've talked about problem solving skills and how sport can really help those. What we do know about people who are maybe not succeeding in life, and certainly people who've maybe got into trouble with the law, is they're not really good at solving life's problems, or they solve them in an antisocial way. So, engaging in a project, a personal project like endurance sport, which actually asks of you to use good problem solving skills, which are goal oriented, which are achievable, which are specific, is a really good way of practicing skills for life. And once you're in sport, you touched on this. You undergo quite a lot of pain to do the sport. Sometimes with others, sometimes by yourself. But you've got to go through a certain amount of discomfort. It doesn't just happen. But that in itself promotes resilience, which is a really important skill to have for life, especially if you're someone who isn't lucky enough to enjoy really good mental health all the time.
Yeah, if you. I guess. Well, in any event, I was thinking of longer events, but certainly it's true that in longer events you're going to have ups and downs, and you've got to get through the downs, and you might feel like stopping if the objective is to achieve as you might well know, I worked with Jenny Graham in preparing for a cycling around the world record attempt, which thankfully she was successful, so she's now the world record holder. But that's a great example of having to have resilience. These self-supported cycle races, where you're deprived of sleep, and something goes wrong. You've got to figure out what to do and move forward. But then I realised that actually any endurance event, like even running 5 kilometres, if you're running 5 kilometres in 15 or 16 minutes, you're still, it's a long time that I have to remember back, but you could slow down. What's going through your head is, this is really hard, and you can slow down at any point, but you've got to say, right, well, no, I'm not going to slow down. I want to do this, and this is what I've decided to do. So you have to keep going, and you have to keep going through the hard days and the easy days in training. Some days you won't want to go out, and you just have to keep that routine. And that isn't, when you know you can do that because you've done it in your sport, you know you can do it in other scenarios, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely, I was thinking about that. Just as you were talking, I was thinking about that commitment that we have to whatever goal we put forward, whether that's your 15-minute 10k or completing your first marathon, or even just completing
15-minute 10k.
Oh yeah, 15-minute 5k. 15-minute 10k would be remarkable. 50-minute 5k or your first half marathon or your first 10k or whatever it is.
Or even a 45-minute 5k.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
all these things are equally difficult. I remember I used to do a lot of running with a chap called John Graham, who's quite a good marathon runner, and so he'd run 2:09. I think his slowest marathon was 2:16, and he said I just could not, do. He just couldn't. He just didn't. He didn't think he would have had the resilience to sustain the effort to run a 4 or a 5 hour marathon. He was actually quite what's the word? Not envious. Respectful. I don't think that's the perfect word, but he was very respectful of people who were doing marathons and get to the end, and it was actually really hard. And he thought much harder for them than it was for him, which is to some extent true, because he found running quite easily. He was very talented. So.
Yeah, that's true. And I was thinking how that sense of commitment crosses over into your commitment to your own personal goals in life, and even for some people to life itself. And this idea of some people have to be really, really resilient to keep at it because it is very difficult for them. Yeah. And so having something that promotes that resilience is really valuable.
Yeah. So there you go. Hope you like it. Hope you've learned something from it. Please subscribe. Thumbs up if you like it, and let us know if you don't. Let us know what more you'd like to talk about or write articles about. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.